All right. Welcome back to episode 2 of Money and Skills with Dalan and Michele. Dalan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Michelle. I'm doing great. Had a wild weekend, family and out doing all that kind of stuff, and I'm excited to be here. I was thinking just now, there's a show that I listened to, a podcast I listened to called Daily Tech News Show, and they actually have two feeds. They have the actual show, like how we just started, but then they have like a subscriber or a special feed that you get to listen in on all the pre-show craziness. I feel like maybe at some point we need to go live before we go live so people can hear all the nonsense that's happening 3 seconds before.
It's a thought. It's definitely a thought for sure. So, how was your week?
It's good. Busy times, but did a whole bunch of stuff, interesting things. I mean, we talked during the week about a number of different things. So I had a couple of those days, those moments in there, so to speak. But made it through the week, and I'm excited to go in there. I've taken on a different approach to. I try to take on a different approach to Mondays, where even though if I think it's going to be hard, if I think it's I got a lot of challenges coming up, I've started to try to look at it from a positive way and be like, it's another opportunity to struggle. It's another opportunity to go into the war. It's another opportunity to go in there and try to make some stuff happen, or at least another opportunity to go in there and work on your plan for whatever else you're trying to do. If you're trying to go hard in the same space, if you're trying to go hard and working on your escape plan, your exit plan, so to speak, it's just another opportunity to get in there and make that happen. So yeah, that was the week, and I'm excited. How about you?
Good week. Good week. My word for, how people have words for the year or themes for the
Yeah.
year. So, my word is thrive. Thrive.
Okay.
That's my word. And so when I hit my ebbs and my flows and the other week, I'm like, okay, remember we're thriving. So that's my pick me up as
Yeah.
I go through the week, and especially if I hit, the bumps that just come with a work day. I'm like, okay, we're thriving. What does thriving look like in this moment? Yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right, are you back? I lost audio and video for a second there.
I don't know what happened, but we're here. Technical
Uh,
difficulties are popping
welcome to live video, folks. I don't
up.
even
It
know. I'm not even
happens.
gonna apologize for it. Welcome to the 2022 version of the internet, and trying to do bandwidth and stuff across different continents and all that kind of stuff. So this is what it is. But yes, we made it. We both made it through the week, uh, and tattered and torn, bruised and battered. But let me stop. It's Sunday night. I might still have a little bit of church in me. I didn't go to church today. Anyway, let's not talk about my sins. Um,
All right. Well, I'm in the U.S., Dalan's in Panama, the country,
yes.
and we are career coaching colleagues. We met through the internet, actually. I think it was through my book a few years ago at this point, or past
Yeah.
couple, a few years ago. And so I have Career Tipper. He has Careers in Cash Flow. We're both authors of books. Dalan, go ahead and talk about your book.
So my book is called No Boss Only Clients: How to Build an Extraordinary Career and a Life of Freedom. Happen to have a copy right here in this spiffy little plastic. So my book is for anyone who is doing a couple of things. If you want to figure out how to do the job thing better, if you want to figure out how to do the 9 to 5 thing, and you want to do it really, really well to the point where you're leveraging the heck out of it and you're building yourself up to where if you want to go to the top in that direction, or if you want to eventually make the exit plan into doing something else, this is the book for you. So I would say it's about 60% some real talk, raw talk, insider stuff that I've picked up from doing over 200 episodes of my podcast, interviewing high-level executives, different people, Silicon Valley, corporations, all that kind of stuff, career experts, really breaking down, and from my personal experience, some little ninja stuff that is not necessarily politically correct for people to tell you, but I'm telling you in the book how to get some stuff done. And then the last 40% of it, more or less, is the finance investment banker in me coming out, teaching you how to start building up and managing your money so that you can eventually break yourself away from the tyranny of being hostage to one paycheck. So we're talking about building side hustles. We're talking about investing. We're talking about managing your money. We're talking about all that kind of stuff for the people who want to do the other direction of things. And my premise in the book is generally, even if you think you're a 9 to 5 person, or even if you don't plan to leave, you need to be able to get yourself into a position where you could leave at any point. Because as we saw over the last couple of years, if you don't think and just type in no boss, only clients, or type in my name, Dalan Vanterpool, and it will come right up. So that's what's going on from my side on my book. So you can check it out there.
Awesome. And for me, my book is called Confidently You 21-Day Action Plan to Your Professional Best with a Bonus Week. So my book can be used as a tool in regards to where, no matter where you are in your career path, if you're fresh out of school, an early career starter, or you are a seasoned professional, it can help you make sure that you are being authentically true to yourself and
Yeah.
pursuing things that interest you when it comes to your career choices and how you're navigating your career path, how you're strategizing your career path, and what makes it work for you. So each day has, some people use it as a journal, some people use it as a conversation starter in regards to career training, and then others just use it to just really map out their career plan if they're wanting to take as many can say fast action. So it has
Yeah.
a call to action. It has different topics for each day. In addition to that, it has an affirmation. It gives you an overview of the day, and then it gives you a call to action that you should do that day that will help you evolve to your professional best, because that's really the premise of my platform, is helping professionals evolve to their professional best. So with that, with the combination of my book and Dalan's book, definitely feel that you could be on the path if you're just trying to get some clarity to some things or direction between the two resources. You can definitely be on your way, and they both can be found on Amazon.
Absolutely. So Michelle and I met back when I was full on career, trying to help people figure this out, and I still kind of am in the background. But I've strayed from the faith, so to speak. I strayed from the career faith just a little bit. And I've decided, look, man, it's time to, the banker in me has come out, and I've decided we're just gonna cut straight to the money. So Michelle is still rocking out, helping us build the career stuff and get that organized properly, and get your skills up, get your skills recharged, so you can do what you got to do. I have decided to cut the fat and just go straight to the money. So I'm talking about money. I'm talking about investing. I'm talking about building side hustles. I'm talking about figuring out how to understand all the stuff you hear in the stock market. I'm talking about financial freedom. I'm talking about getting paid. So I'll talk about jobs as long as we're talking about getting paid. If we're not talking about that, talk to Michelle.
It's all good. And that's just like the premise of where we are and what we stand for.
Yeah.
So we have a hot topic.
What we talking about? What we talking about?
We are talking about came across this amazing article, and it's very insightful, and I think it's in sync with like a lot of things that we have discussed recently. And it's I saw it on LinkedIn. It's New York City employers are going to need to start listing the salaries. So as of May 15th, if I'm not mistaken, yep, and the new law comes into place on May 15th, and it's designed primarily to address gender pay gap issues that some employers
Yeah.
are against. So they will be required to list the salaries associated with their roles. And of course, there's backlash to anything like this coming out. So it's very interesting how companies are planning to address this, and how they're bracing themselves for what their teams might have to say, because not only can potential employees see the salaries for their income, related to the role, but also existing employees can find out really where they rank for the pay for that role. So that can be an issue, and there's always a way to get around that. So there is talk about what that looks like in regards to what they can do to potentially get around that by following suit from other states in Colorado, and specifically where there's a mandate to where they can put like the disclaimer that it's only for remote roles, where they don't have to necessarily, they can specify the post is that remote jobs were closed to people living in the state, allowing the companies to sidestep disclosure requirements. So I know that, we're still in the new year and there's a lot going on and there's a lot of questions and people are just really, trying to decide, hey, am I doing what's best for me? Am I really getting paid my worth? Am I getting paid my value? Am I in my sweet spot right now for this career and what I'm doing? And so there's just a lot of I think retrospective going on, and I think there's a lot of people trying to get clarity. And what does that look like from just a planning standpoint and a money standpoint, and of course from my perspective, a skill standpoint. So I just feel like one thing that comes up is first the basics mindset. Do you want to put the work in to get to where you need to be in order to experience the career success that you want, to maintain the lifestyle what you want? Because right now with the economy, as you know, and you spoke of last week, inflation and understanding what does that mean. So let's just start with mindset.
Yeah, I think this whole thing is gonna be interesting. First of all, you want me to go ahead and throw that article in the comment in case anybody wants to see what it is they're talking
Yeah,
about?
sure.
Let me drop that in there real quick. I also want to shout out. Let me see if I can do this at the same time while talking. Drop this in the comments to the show. I want to shout out Orlando, as I called him earlier this week, the Orlando Haynes, who's up here, checking out the show. I want to shout him out real quick. Let me just head over. I'm gonna drop this in here, and then I'll say my 2 cents on this action. How do I do this? I'm not the most technical. Okay, here we go. Here I go. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting thing that's going on. I think the bigger, I mean, it's good for the job seekers. And I remember all of us have been through the whole thing where, especially here on LinkedIn, you see the jokes and stuff coming out. I saw someone post before, like, "Good morning to all the recruiters who've posted jobs and the salary expectation for it." Or good morning to everybody except those who are not posting salary expectations. So I think it's definitely going to help the job seekers, because we've been down the road before. You see some glorious looking job with all these requirements. Oh, they want this certification. Oh, that you're going to be managing a team of XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And in your mind, you're going, okay, for all that, if let's say you do have all those skills, you're thinking, oh, they've got to be talking 100K up. They've got to be expecting to pay people 150, $200,000 a year or whatever it is. And you go through the circus, the usual, okay, you hit easy apply on LinkedIn, and then they ask you to upload your resume via PDF, and then they ask you to type in what's on the PDF manually into the little, portal on their website. So you've pretty much applied, you've done your resume about 3 times, you go through all the interviews, blah, 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 and then you get down to it. And they're like, well, we're thinking about, 30 to 40K. And you're like, are you serious? So it can be a waste of time for both sides. I think that's going to be one side of it. But I really think the shakeup is going to be for the existing employees, because it's become taboo, or it is taboo, I guess, to talk salary at the office and what one person is getting paid and how much the other person's bonus was. And yes, I understand the social awkwardness that can create and so on. But the side effect of that is we don't a lot of times know what the company is paying for different things, or what the company's version of excellent work that deserves to be rewarded is. So we don't really know. You're there, you're doing the Glassdoor and some of the other sites that we posted out there this week, where you can check it out. But you don't know, in your particular company, you don't have a proper solid ground feel for, like, where am I in the rankings of my team. So I think that's where the real shakeup is going to be. You're going to be there having somebody being paid whatever $80,000 a year, and then they realize, oh, I don't know who it is, but there's one person at least on this team that's being paid 120,000. I don't know if the person's on my left or my right, but I know it ain't me. And that's going to be the interesting one out there, I think. Or I think that the worst case is going to be the person who realizes the bottom of that scale is their salary, and they're like, oh no, this can't work. So I think that's where the interesting thing is going to be in here. But I think for the existing employees, you can really use that in your salary negotiations. And instead of tripping out about, oh my gosh, I'm being underpaid or whatever it is, oh, I didn't realize I was being paid this much and I was planning to ask for more. I didn't realize I was at the top of the food chain. I think the better approach to it would be use this as a great anchor point and walk into the conversation and say, okay, if I'm in the middle of the range, let's say, talk to me. What does the $120,000 person look like to you? Like, what is that? What do you want to see? What do you value? What are they doing? You don't have to give names. You can give names if you want to. You don't have to give me their name, but tell me what it is you want me to do to get to that point. What is $120,000 worth of value, or forget that? What does $150,000 worth of value look like to you? And let's design a plan so I can meet those goals and get up to that point. So I think that's going to be the interesting part of it. But yeah, it's going to be a shakeup, and I'm interested to see which other states or countries, for that matter, end up following suit along these lines. So interesting time to be in the working world.
Yeah, for sure. So, for sure, when it comes to mindset, you definitely need to decide that you're worth the effort to
Yeah.
pursue more if that's what you want. And you have to demonstrate courage. This is just a friendly reminder to demonstrate courage to be able to step out and
Hmm.
pursue something other than what you're doing right now. So,
Right.
demonstrate courage, know that you're worth the effort and time, and also
Mhm.
also go into it being patient out the gate, right?
Right.
Be patient with yourself and come up with strategies. So the next thing is collect your resources. If you're a DIYer, go ahead and figure out what that is for you. What is your DIY path? If you need to make an investment in having someone help you that focuses on helping you get into the industry you want, there's a lot of amazing resources out there. Like if you want to get into tech, but before you even do that, before you even connect to the people and determine if you're DIYer, I would say just start to figure out what do you want to do? Like what's in demand? Find out the
Yeah.
industries that are in demand, what is going to be in demand moving forward, what are your interests now, what type of a work environment you want to be in, and also like deciding what does that look like. So like take a do an overview of all your current role and your previous roles and just really
Yeah.
decide what do you want to do, where do you see yourself, what do you see yourself doing more, and what skills do you not have that you need to acquire, what skills do you need to go back and like update your LinkedIn profile for example, when you start networking, what do you want people to know? Like I've listened to a lot of podcasts this week and talked to quite a few career professionals. And one thing was for sure, it's like the money's in the niches. Like we all know that, we talk about it all the time, but the money is in the niches. And where do you see yourself maximizing? Like what's that one skill that you see yourself being known for? Is it in the what is it in the finance? Is it fiduciary? What is it? Is it process improvement? Like what do you see yourself known for? Strictly recruiting, or what aspect of recruiting, what industry, like accounting or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
and really zoning in on what your niche is and what are the things that associate with that you need to be known as the go-to person for that. So once you've done that body of work, of homework, then I say expound on to the next level of figuring out your resources. What do you
Mhm.
need? The budget. What type of budget do you need to set? What type of duration? How long is this going to take? Who's going
Yeah.
to pay for it? Is something you can pay for yourself, or can your company pay for it? And also, what does it take to maintain that? If it's a certification, is it renewed? Is it one
Mhm.
time? What does it mean? Things of that nature. Tap into your network. Who are the 5 people in your network that you perceive can help you? Do you need to be
Yeah.
more visible on LinkedIn, talking about that specific topic, that your niche and what that is, and how are you going to engage with people? Like plan your day, 5 comments a day. Who is that? Who's the recruiter? Who's the decision maker? Who are people who are working in the roles for the companies that you want to work with, or who's working at those companies? So how can you genuinely network, not just say, hey, let's work together, or are you hiring? Who can you build relationships with? And then
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate of networking across. So who can you collaborate with? Who could that
Yeah.
possibly be?
Yeah, I think those are all excellent tips out there, especially when you talk about the niching and the networking. I mean, shameless plug. I dedicated a whole two separate chapters in my book, networking 1.0 and networking 2.0, to specifically that, talking about. Yeah, we're not talking about handing out business cards at cocktail parties and the basic stuff that you talk about, but we're talking about how to really build relationships. How do you study people's likes and their dislikes, and start working the relationship from their secretary up to all the things. How do you start adding value to them even before you've said hello? You actually send something that you come bearing gifts, so to speak, before you've even introduced yourself. So their introduction to you is this very particular gift. And when I say a gift, it doesn't have to be, not talking about flowers here, but something that saves them time, makes them money, or makes their life easier. When you can walk in the door with that, and I saw this example with Jamila Epstein, who was on my podcast from Ernst Young, um, powerful partner over there, and she talked about it when one of the youngest people on the team, new guy came in or new woman came in, and they started off. They had a meeting, and they said, "Hey, can I put together some notes for you based on what we talked about in that meeting? I'm going to send you a one pager." Based on all the things, I know you had a lot going on. Maybe you couldn't take all the notes. Maybe just something to help you remember all the different action points. Or can I help draft this up for you, and you can butter it up later? You come bearing gifts, you can make a lot. You can make a big difference. As you're talking about getting paid with this whole niche thing, because I'm the money guy, I guess I should. This is just what I do. one of the interesting ways to get paid in these kind of situations is when you're choosing your niche. If you can find something that's important and unpleasant, a lot of times there's money in there. That's what I've seen in companies a lot of time. I've seen it. I'm not trying to give too many details. There's a specific example I'm thinking about where there's a particular area of this business. There's a particular thing that has to get done. It's a hot topic and everything, but it's a pain in the butt. It's annoying. Nobody really wants to deal with it, or everybody has a cursory knowledge of it because they have to, but nobody wants to become the subject matter expert in here. Nobody wants to really dig into this thing. And the person that decided to do it, just to suck it up and be like, you know what? I'm going to be that person. I'm going to go in and learn this little geeky thing that's crucial that nobody really wants to deal with. It's a pain in the butt. It's harassing. And what happens now is that people are like, oh, you're going to figure that out? Awesome. I will rather pay you to just come figure this out for me. I don't want to read all this boring stuff. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But now they've cemented themselves, and I mean that in a very almost literally, they've cemented themselves in the organization as somebody that's really crucial, not just for what they can do for themselves, for the as their efforts, but now they've figured out how to save and time and make other people's lives easier. So if something goes down, that's the last person that's going to be in the chopping block. If they go ask for a raise, management's not just gonna be thinking, "Oh my gosh," they're gonna think, if I get rid of this one person, I'm making trouble for these other 15 people who they're buttering up right now. So you can really cement yourself in there and put yourself in a strong leveraging position or strong bargaining position if you're talking about going in there and doing the niches. So yeah, interesting stuff, man. Very interesting
So
stuff.
thank you, Orlando. I see you. Plan your day. Be strategic and important and unpleasant. Yep. It's so true. So to piggyback on what you were saying about the unpleasant, that could be, for example, if you someone in the shipping industry, someone needs they need the packaging, they need the tape, they need they need the nuts and the bolts. Like I would encourage anyone, whatever that is, whatever your industry or choice is, figure out things that you don't even like, literally study your environment and
Yeah.
figure out what is an essential that you don't even realize it is an essential, and figure out how you can help that process, or that could end up being a side gig possibly for something that you decide
Yeah.
to do later. Who knows? Like we all need multiple streams of income. That's no longer like an option. It's something that we all need. And it takes time to figure out what it is you
Hmm.
need. So like what is that you're going to be able to, what's the difference between a hobby and something that you can really make money at?
Yeah.
So they always say to have a no name business, right? So what could that be? And that can fall into the same category of what Dalan was talking about, was the important unpleasant. What could that be that you can just do in bulk or private label or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be? But for the 9 to 5ers, how can you be a consultant for that, right?
Right.
How can you be a consultant or a contract work? What could work for you in that regard. And I want to go back to the plan your day thing. Something else that just came to mind as well. It's like, so I would say block time your day. So like first thing in the morning, if you're looking for a job, or if you're just trying to like keep, informed about what's going on in your industry, I would just say spend 10 to 15 minutes like figuring out, reading an article, making your list, finding that one job you want to apply for, and then have a template of what you're following. At lunchtime, if you can do something, and again at the end of the day with your follow up. But that way, by the end of the week, you have a list of wins. You're not
Yeah.
frustrated, and you've tracked your progress along the way, which is so important because anytime you're going through something where you're trying to ante up or just figure out where you stand, there's a range of emotions that go along with that. So
Yeah.
navigating that would be so key.
Yeah, and just going in on this whole thing about niching and building the skills and monetizing those skills. I mean, I'll give another easy example. I'm a big fan, as much as possible. Of course, it depends on what your job is, how confidential it is, in the nature. It's not a it's not a blanket statement here for every job. But I'm a big fan of, for the 9 to 5ers who are trying to monetize and make more money and just kind of get out of this rat race. And this is not saying you have to quit your job, but you're trying to get out of the place where you're desperately dependent on the next paycheck and the next paycheck. I'm a big fan of trying to weave a line through what you currently do and how you can monetize it, how you can build on that time. Because you're going to spend all this time, whatever, 8-10 hours a day perfecting these skills, right? If you're going to spend all the time perfecting these skills and everything, I'm big on trying to get the most out of it. So I'll give you an example. One, from a branding or marketing perspective, if it's possible for you to have at least your LinkedIn profile content, your personal LinkedIn profile. I know people like to say, "Oh, this is my personal space, this is my social media. I can share whatever I want." Da, da, da. Yeah, I get that, and that's for certain people. But who I'm talking to right now is the people who want to get to this bag, who want to get paid. If you want to have that whole thing where this is your personal thing, like get a burner account to be, whoever you are. But for the people who are trying to get this done, if you can find ways to take on that persona, right? Not just at the office, but so it's seen outside, it's seen on LinkedIn, it's seen in the industry. Because what that does is set you up for the next job, or if you decide to launch out into your own consulting business, it sets you up where people are being able to see that professional excellence in you that you do so well in the office. But you're not just showcasing it just for the people who are there, but you're showcasing it for whoever else might be watching. So I would say as much as you can, weave that through. So for example, in my job, I work in sales and trading right now. So I'm specifically focused on the Caribbean. So I'm Caribbean institutional clients. So amongst all other things you might see me sharing about the podcast, Money and Skills with Michele and Dalan, these things are not accidental. It's not accidental that I work in a bank and I spend time on the internet talking about money, and then you write a book about how to manage money. Like, it's not, I'm not saying everybody's life everything you do has to be work, 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 work. But if you can try to weave a narrative, it's going to save you a lot of time for having to just completely shift gears all the time and sacrifice a little bit of your quote unquote personal internet space to let that persona come through. If you want to, if you want to have your Twitter account be where you wild out, or your Instagram account be where you wild out, whatever, fine. But you want to have at least one visible, according to my friend Narissa Golden, who's doing her visible challenge. Check her out, by the way, visibility challenge. You want to have at least one visible place where your professional skills are showcased. And I'll give you an easy example. I was hoping nobody from my office is watching this right now, but I was in a training course for a specific software that we are getting ready to start using. And I asked the training people who were the systems people who are introducing us to the software. I said, "Hey, is there a learning hub for this? Are there videos? Is there a place where I can become a sort of champion for this? Is there a certification I can get for this particular software?" One, that's going to help you look good in the office. Yes, you're now the person who decided to become the champion for this little complicated, quirky software. Great. But what that also does is, at some point, if you decide to move on, if you decide you want to start, assuming there's no, non-compete clause or whatever it is, you can start outsourcing this work. If you're good at QuickBooks, you're an accountant. People need help with this stuff. There are non-accounting-ish people that want help setting up their QuickBooks, or you can log into their thing once a month remotely and help them close out their stuff and get them together, and you will get paid for this kind of stuff. So I'm big on trying to take the skills that you're suffering, quote unquote, suffering through learning in the office anyway, and finding ways to monetize them so you're getting more bang for your buck, especially if you're getting the education paid for by the company.
For sure. And so if you're looking for a starter point, please reference the list that Dalan and I posted last week, where you can go and assess your skills. So go and find out what someone's getting paid. If, like you just mentioned, accounting. So go to Upwork, look up other
Yeah.
people that are doing the financial task, and like do an assessment and figure it out, and figure out what the worth is, what they're charging based off their experience and their expertise and the duration of the projects that they do. And then that will help you determine your starting point. And you have your learning curve with it, but once you get into your like groove of what you're going to do, you hit your flow, things will come even more easier for you as far as like how to assess your skills, not only if you should decide to do something on an independent basis, but in your negotiation, you know what skills to promote stronger that have a higher value, right? So you can focus on that when it comes down to trying to figure out when you're looking at a job description and you're going back and forth with that negotiation round, because you always should negotiate at least 1 to 2 times when you're going through that. So what does that look like, and how and what skills that are the money skills, right? As Dalan mentioned last week, that are close to the money line, and then just understanding how to communicate your skills. Yes, your soft skills are important as far as communication and things of that nature, but those hard skills, those earned skills that you've had, how are you going to know the value? How do you know and be able to confidently explain your research and your findings on what that is? And then that also lets you know what other skills to look for to align that needs to be that. So one thing I've noticed a lot when talking to professionals, not just in the tech industry, but from a software perspective, to understand what software they need to know. And they're like, well, I don't know. Well, then go on Udemy. Most software companies, they are owned by, go to their parent company and look up and see what they have. A lot of them offer free resources to train you. You can get the trial to learn, and this is a 30-day trial. Some of them have just free stuff that you can go on and learn that and acquire that, and you can close that gap and say, okay, I might not have worked with this. However, I have taken it, I have proactively enrolled in these courses, and I understand the tool, and I am able to continue to be a strong contributor in your work environment because I'm walking in with the understanding.
Yeah, I totally agree. I want to shout out Orlando as well. He said he just picked up a copy. I ordered a copy of my book, so appreciate that. As soon as I touch down in Orlando next time, I'll be happy to sign it for you. We can grab a drink and talk it over.
Okay, so one other thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to the skills aspect is understanding your time commitment and what does that look like. And I say that because you want to know what the process is when you're doing like most people, it takes about 6 months to find if you're unemployed, it takes you approximately 6 months to find a job. So what does that look like, and what are you willing to do in that time period? I know some people are like, I'll take anything, but what does anything look like for you? Are you willing to do contract work? Are you looking for, and what is the duration? Are you looking for 3 to 6 months, 12 to 18 months, 24 months? What does that look like? And are you working with different agencies what is their experience? Because some contract work is offered with insurance and things of that nature from the company that you're working with for the contract work, and not the client. So what does that look like for you? These are all things that will, once you have an understanding as you navigate this process, and if you decide, because we're in the midst of the Great Resignation, so as you decide whether or not you're going to stay in your employer with your employer, if you encounter something that was taking place in Colorado, in New York, so that might infuriate you or inspire you to like, hey, I bet on myself. What does that look like for you? So yes, assess your skills. Yes, assess your industry. Yes, assess where do you fall, in Dalan's words, near the money line, and how do you want to get closer to it? Or for some, you might want to get away. You don't want that much responsibility. Everyone's different. It just depends on your lifestyle and where you are in your life, quite honestly. I know I was speaking with someone the other day, and they're like, Michelle, I could care less about the money. I just want insurance. So it just
Yeah,
depends on.
that's the real thing. I was talking to somebody last week as well. They have a situation, their kids and that kind of stuff. You have different things. Your priorities change depending on your actual situation. So you got to really consider that in there. I don't know, but it, as you talked about people who are trying to get to different places and jobs and who are trying to get, you want to move up, you want to get a better job. I mean, we've talked this week about some things. You've known me a couple of years now, and first of all, before I jump to that, I want to say, because you've known me a couple of years now, this is why Michele has been able to bully me a little bit. Y'all might have noticed now. If you see me on the internet, you might have never seen me in a t-shirt before. Hell, if you know me in real life, you might have never seen me in a t-shirt before. Michele, yes, I'm calling you out for the people, and they can say what they have to say about it. Michele told us, said we decided we're gonna be casual last week for the first episode, and I came on the show, being my authentic self, Crown Act hashtag, being myself, being my version of casual, and we she had it out afterwards saying that my casual was not casual enough. I looked like after she said, "What I think was you said I looked like I was like Friday after work drinks or something." I look too stush, too
It's
stiff.
nine
I don't
o'clock at
know.
night, Dalan. 9 o'clock.
But this is me though. I feel like that was my
That's
casual.
fine.
Anyway, so she bullied me into trying to tone it down a little bit more and just be more casual. And this is the closest I can get to casual right here. So if you're wondering why I'm black t-shirting it tonight out here, you up to like 5 minutes before the show, I had on a different shirt. I'm not gonna pull out. I tried to do it, but it wasn't working with the background. I was even trying to disobey. I was trying to disobey the queen here and do something else. But here we are, black shirting it out. But one of the things I wanted to mention as we're talking about this whole conversation
I can't
about,
believe you're just on the soapbox about this, but you know what? I
yes,
agree
I,
with
I
you,
am.
Michaela. We have a beautiful comment. Michaela just shared everyone's why is different. And I agree with you, Michaela. Everyone's why is different.
Everyone's why is different. Michaela, I actually think I know who that is, by the way. She, this is another person who might join you with the black t-shirt situation. But yes, everyone's why is different, certainly for why they're doing things. But bullying aside, I want to talk about something that is actually very serious. I feel equally passionate about, and I mentioned this to you earlier today or yesterday, and it's this whole concept of this whole thing I see where so many professionals think that there is a black and white line or there's a hard line or whatever it is between being an employee and being an entrepreneur or doing your own thing, right? And I think it's so sad that so many of us get lulled, or we get lulled or coddled or paychecked or stock optioned or extra vacation day, or we get all these little perks, and we get into the point where the side of our brain that well, a part of our brain or part of our thinking or emotion that shark mentality where we really believed in ourselves and believe in our ability to add value, not to this company, but add value to this market or add value to the end user client. That part starts to atrophy, right? It's like a muscle. You don't use it, and you're just like, oh well, it's starting to get a little weaker. And then after a while, I don't remember it's there, or you're like, oh my gosh, I remember it's there, but I wouldn't dare to go down that road now because I'm so scared that I won't be able to do it. I think there's so many of us out there who are busy trying to get promoted to manager or promoted to vice president and this and that, the other. But how many of us are out there trying to get promoted to client? Right. And I say that especially in my context in the financial space, you you sit there and you're doing and this is not me telling you to go out there and quit your job or whatever it is, but how many of you want to be in a position where or thought about getting promoted to client where yes, you realize that if you especially in a high value industry where you have clients that have more money than the people who are at the top of the company, who have more money than your manager. Like you want to get to the point where you could actually be a client of the place you're working. That's a whole different kind of conversation. And my point of this is I think there's so many of us, there's so many dreams, there's so many skills, there's so many people out there with more that they can do for the market and more that they can do for the world who are sitting there just being coddled in comfortable jobs. And this is not me saying you're not great. This is me saying yes, you are great. The reason they have you at this job is because you can make money for the company. which means you're able to add value to some end user client down the road. There's something you can do that the world finds valuable. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there having you at the company. They wouldn't be paying you. So if that's the case, if you're employed or you can get employed, you have some kind of skill, whatever it is, why is it that more of us, I know this isn't for everybody, right? But why is it that more of us, aren't out there putting or putting the extra work in to figure out how we can bring us to the market? Not bring us to the office, but how can we bring more of us to the market? How can we bring our skills? How can we monetize what's going on in our heads beyond the job descriptions that they've given us, beyond the office? Why can't we, why is it that more of us aren't doing that and making the extra complicated step of, yes, you've mastered the technical skill of what it is you do, but now to bring it to market, you're gonna have to learn some new stuff. Like one of the things I'm learning right now that's uncomfortable is cold calling. I just it feels weird to me. It feels, I'm not shy talking to strangers or anything, but I've always been in a position where I'm selling somebody something that they already want. They've kind of already contacted, they've reached out. So I'm not used to sales, so to speak, in this kind of way. I'm used to warm market stuff. I know who's going on. They've expressed an interest. So I'm not used to calling up someone in another country and trying to get the right person on the phone and researching who it is, and trying to have them build rapport quickly within 30 seconds, 45 seconds with the people, and doing the follow-up and dealing with rejection. I'm not used to all these things, but I'm like, yo, this is something. One of the reasons I just had to pour myself into it is because I'm like, yo, this is not just for the job. This is a skill that might be necessary outside, right? When you go out there and we've both gone on this road, Michele. When you decide to launch your first online project, or you put a course out there, or an online event, or you start Money and Skills with Dalan and Michele, if you're not prepared mentally for, I'm shuffling my seat because the sermon is getting hot. If you're not prepared mentally to deal with the potential rejection or the judgment, or you don't know what it feels like to put your all into a pitch and get rejected or something. I sent out a pitch on, I think I told you about it. I sent out a pitch on Friday, but because and it's a significant number. It's not a whole bunch of money really, but as far as I'm concerned. But I know when it goes across the table of the folks I sent it to, I can picture, I know some of the folks in that room are gonna be like, what? But I'm fully prepared for if they say yes, and I'm fully prepared for if they say, HE double hockey sticks, no, right? Because I already built up that barrier from knowing that this is all part of the game. This is all part of, when you see someone out there with big success, you see them have the big win, or they close the big deal. You don't know how many times they applied to different. You don't know how many book publishers they sent in proposals to before, and then got shot down before they got that one yes or those two yeses. Right. So these are the skills I think more of us need to move out of our comfort zone with. Yes, we've mastered the technical skill of what we do, but now we need to go the other step and don't fall into the laziness of just doing that. Learn the other things, learn the sales, learn the copywriting, or get to the point where you're willing to pay somebody to do certain things that can build you up into a little business, so we can monetize more of what's in us rather than just sitting around at these companies. The doors of the church are open.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Um, I agree with Orlando. Orlando is saying your gift will make room for you in the market. And I totally
Yeah.
agree. And yeah, like right now, going live, we've had technical difficulties during this episode, and we're just like, yes, we're structured. We have our notes and that, but we're both learning. So this is new territory for me. So yeah, I'm like having moments. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's not, it's something that we haven't pre-recorded, but I hear you. Like right now I just finished going through a thought leadership intensive, and it was intense. And the follow-up work is, you have capstones that are associated with it. And that's me just really figuring out how can I position myself to share more from a thought leadership perspective, more than what I'm doing now. Because you're right. It's like when you're trying to put yourself out in the marketplace, that's a whole nother level of development. And I find myself more than anything, just more in a student mode than I've ever had before, ever in my life. Like I'm learning from you, I'm learning from Orlando, I'm learning from other career coaches, and what made them get this far and what made them take a pause. And I feel like this has brought collaboration to a whole nother level. Like, for example, I tuned into Orlando's show earlier this week. So that was amazing, right? So at the end of it, like, he scribed for us and I scribed for him, and he
Yeah.
was like, is this a job? I'm like, it could be for somebody. I don't know who, but it's just like, as like you're saying, as you go through the process, you discover other potential income streams. You discover things about yourself. You discover needs
Yeah.
that you need, and it's really it's liberating. But at the same time, it's like you feel like you're a complete fish out of water. So
Yeah.
anyone going through the process, I'm like, just lean in, go with it, continue to be the student that you are. What did Orlando say? The process of rejections will build the stamina to succeed. I agree with you,
Absolutely.
Orlando. It does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you breathe different, you move different. And one thing about it is you can always tell the difference between someone when you're in a conversation with other creatives and people really making an effort to improve their life versus someone who is just observing someone doing it. The conversation is different.
Yeah.
When you're talking with other creatives, the conversation is, how can I help you primarily? How can I
Yeah.
help you? I have a resource. Where other people are like, if that was me, or I wouldn't do that, or whatever the case may be. And that's
Yeah.
fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. But I'm about helping. I'm about helping. I'm about because if you win, I win. And then also, it's like you're learning what possibilities are available to you.
Yeah.
So, and what you can experience and what you can accomplish. So, I say take the leashes off,
Yeah.
prepare for the unexpected, because they say there's a recession booming between now, like Q2 and 2023.
Yeah.
Inflation, people want to buy houses, the house rates are high. I mean, there's this whole bucket list of things that are currently or in the future going to impact our finances. And so
Mhm.
why not be ready? Do the work, right? Just
Yeah.
do the work, get your skills, figure out what you can maximize now, what you need to learn, what you want to learn. Because the thing about it is, with everyone focused on mental health, generally speaking, and quality of life, and this is new, like, generations are in a different space of what does the quality of life look for. Make sure
Yeah.
you make all these efforts reflect what that is for you. So you're just waking up and you're like, I love what I do no matter what's going on in the world.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, especially what Orlando is saying. This whole thing about the process of rejection, building the stamina to succeed. I don't. I'm not necessarily saying that folks should lean into negative emotions, but what I've found is there's a breaking point. I had to go through this myself. You go through the point of, oh, I don't like my job, or I don't like my bank account, I don't like how much I'm being paid, or whatever it is. And there's a casual level of like don't like or dislike. There's a casual level of you're dissatisfied. And the problem with that little middle ground, that's that's where you start gossiping with other coworkers, or you're fussing all the time. That you don't hate it enough. You kind of need to graduate from dislike to disgust. And once you get into the disgust level, at least for me, this is one of the things that once I get into that disgust level, that's where it's like, I told you at the top of the year, like, I'm down for whatever. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't care if it's uncomfortable. Like, I'm not used to being on video call. We talk about all the time. Like, I was a music. I'm a musician. Like, I was. I was more into music, but still a musician deep down inside. But I feel perfectly comfortable, whether it's speaking or being a musician. I will walk onto an actual live stage with 5,000 people in the audience and bust it. No problem. It's kill. Like, I can get over the nerves. I'm ready to go. Love it. The energy is surging through my body. On fire. Video on the internet feels super weird. Michelle's been on my case for what, 6 months to a year. You got to start going live on Instagram. You got to start doing more stories. People need to see your face. This one cell phone makes me more nervous than 5,000 actual humans in the audience. But this is the year I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I would rather deal with the discomfort of figuring out online video and all this little weird technical stuff or whatever it is. I'd rather deal with that than have to deal with another year of disgust or dissatisfaction with being at the same level. You got to get to that point where your dissatisfaction or whatever it is that you're feeling, it moves you to action. Like, you don't want to stomach the idea of being in the same place next year, complaining about the same things, or not saying. I'm not saying you're gonna turn into a billionaire tomorrow. That's not the point. But you want to be able to see some tangible, documentable progress on what you've been doing and put in the efforts, whatever you're trying to learn, the skills you're trying to pick up. And I think that's the place where that a lot of us have to get to. Graduate from this, I don't like it, to no, hell no. Like, I'm ready to make some moves and make some changes. I think that's where a lot of us have to get to.
I agree, but I think a year is too long. I feel like you need to set quarterly, monthly, and quarterly benchmarks. So by the end of
Yep.
the year, it just comes together for you, and then you have your different milestones along the way. So I
Yeah.
think you should have quarterly goals and then go from there. And for a lot of things that we're saying, it's a reminder to some people. You know it, you've heard it, you've been in the part of the conversation. Knowing and doing is different, and I agree. I agree with what Kayla wrote. She said, "Don't run out there unprepared." So
Yeah.
that means get your mind right, get your invest in your resume now. If you know that eventually you're going to look for a job, how much does the resume service cost? Do you want to do it yourself, or are you going to invest? And what is the investment cost in doing that? Do you know your story, right? Are you a good storyteller of your skills? Remember, you can't always be the hero in the story, and you can't always be the underdog, right? So what
Yeah.
does that look like? Are you good at that? Those are things that you should start working on. But then it comes down to this, and this is just reiterating what we've been talking the whole time. If you lost your job today, what will life be like tomorrow? And if life tomorrow will not be what you want it to be, or what you're living now, and you're like, you will be shooketh, then everything we're talking about, you need to just, I
Oh
strongly
man.
encourage you to really just take two nuggets from this whole conversation that you've probably heard before, but this is just a reminder of what do you need to do to make sure that your life tomorrow, within your control, you have prepared to make sure that everything is how it needs to be. And there are a lot of amazing people to follow and learn from. So that's where we stand.
That's where we stand, man. I think there's a lot to take away from these conversations. Obviously, these are things that it's never the end of the conversation. A lot more to be said. But as you mentioned, the storytelling part, I think that's an important feature or an important skill to learn, and learning how to sell you. And I think that's where a lot of us fall down, because you all seen it. You have somebody who's a lot more competent, but then Joe, whoever over there, who's a lot more smooth talking or whatever it is, starts building the rapport and gets the job or gets the deal, whatever it is, because they're a better storyteller. Because it's not that they're necessarily smarter. Maybe they're decent, but they may not be the most technically. They may not be technically better, but they figured out that storytelling side of it. And I'll just mention one aside here. One of the things that has me excited over the last couple of months, especially now, is this whole idea of social audio as a place
Mm-hmm.
where people who are, if you don't want to take the plunge like we did and jump on the internet and go live or whatever it is that we're doing here, the whole idea of social audio now is an interesting, if you want to call it, it's a new space, but it's also kind of a middle ground where if you don't want to show your face, or if you want to kind of ease into this a little bit more, this whole idea of social audio, whether it's LinkedIn audio events, Twitter audio, there's a Clubhouse thing out there, and a lot of different sites are figuring out ways that they can do live audio conversations online. I think that's a powerful, powerful thing. I mean, anybody knows me, I like to hang out on Twitter, so you can often find me participating in Twitter Spaces, whether I'm listening or I'm actually, making a comment here and there. It's a place where you can get get over the nerves and learning how to raise your hand and jump into a Twitter space or a LinkedIn audio event without having to show your face, and learn how to tell stories and learn how to speak off the cuff, so to speak, and be succinct and remember the points that you're trying to make and get it across there to people, and deal with the person who is going to come back and say, actually, I totally disagree with what the last speaker said, and da 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 da, and learn how to deal with the emotions of that without being able to fire back. Because a lot of times you can't fire back on social audio because the host is not going to necessarily put you back on. But it's a nice little practice ground where you can get that under control and learn how to tell those stories a lot better. So be sure to take advantage of those things going on. I know, Michelle, you shared a link with me this week, the LinkedIn audio events calendar or something like that. We can put that in out there
Mm-hmm.
during the week as well. I think that'd be an interesting one.
So,
But the Twitter
yeah.
spaces, I think, are always really cool as well. Sorry, LinkedIn, if you're listening to me. LinkedIn is cool too.
So for our introverts out there that's watching LinkedIn audio or Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces, that might be where you start sharing your expertise according to your comfort level. So if
Yeah.
you're introvert, you're not sure where to start, that can be a place to start. And there's a lot of material out there that can help you. So we will make
Yeah.
a post about it to just, help anyone out. And I learned more about it this week, actually, listening to Orlando's show, Career Talk. So yeah.
Yep. 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 Cool,
Yep.
man. I think I don't have. I mean, there's other things we can talk about. I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about this week necessarily. I
No,
think
we're
we save
good.
some. I think we save some of the juice for next week. Listen, y'all, from my side, town down here in Latin America, down here in Panama, I'm wishing all of you an extremely successful week. Go out there, crush it, do what you got to do. Remember to lean in. If you're upset about something, don't ease off of that gas. So, easily lean into it. Remember what that feels like, and remind yourself that you don't want to ever have to have that feeling ever again. So you want to do what you have to do to make that change. So I'm excited for all the things you're going to be doing, whether it's career wise, business wise, entrepreneur wise, freelance wise, money wise, of course. So from my side, always remember to do what you got to do, stay profitable, and have a powerful week.
And I'm Michelle Beatty with Skills Recharge and Career Tipper Podcast. And I want you to get in my DMs and let me know what's your starting point. What are you working on? What dream deferred are you going to go pick back up? What skills are you going to work on? I want to know one soft skill. I want to know one technical skill and just some plans. And if I can help you, let me know. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.